Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy, a journey through intuition, wisdom, and loving insight. If you've journeyed with me before, welcome back, and thank you all for being here with me. This message is for someone who has been gaining clarity on what makes them unique, and also aligning this uniqueness to what they actually love to do, their passion. And so I feel like what used to happen is you almost used to fear what you love the most, not recognizing that the easiest path for you and the most flowing route to being able to live a life of ease and to be able to be free and at ease is indulging in what you love, which just happens to align divinely with what makes you unique. And so you've been bringing things back into balance by allowing the things that make you unique to live through you. This has now got things turning for you. It's got things turning and shifting. You can feel the shifts happening from the inside. You can almost feel the magnetism of the things that you desire coming into your space. And because you're aligned with the things you enjoy and your unique offering, you're finding that your thoughts match with what you feel coming towards you. So even if you haven't actually seen it yet, and I believe some of you have seen it, I really feel this feeling of these things coming towards you. There is something magical that happens when we shift our gaze away from the things that aren't happening to the thing that is happening. And what I mean by that is when your mind and your heart are in one place, this is mind and heart coherence, which is what unlocks the power of spirit and, your own inner power in terms of manifesting. When you align these two things by being true to yourself, and I see it here, there are things that are hidden from your gaze because you're not focused on it. And so there's not any of that obsessive thinking over what hasn't happened yet. But what's happening here is that there are manifestations of yours that you seeded quite some time ago. And what you can't see is that these things are coming towards you. And they're coming towards you. I see them hidden in the moon. They're coming towards you because your focus is not on them, but rather step by step, staying aligned and taking steps according to what makes you unique and what you love. We often find that we've drifted so far from ourselves, from the things that we love doing, because of a sense of a lack of worthiness to take up space in that place. I also see someone comparing themselves to other people, and for a time there was actually negative talk, negative self-talk, negative chatter when you did these comparisons. However, now you're still able to look around, to see what's out there. You're still able to do that, but affirming yourself in terms of continually actually remembering and without too much conscious thought that you need to stick to what makes you unique. And in that, there's an honoring of your surroundings. There's an honoring of other people's work and their gifts. But the greatest honoring is the one that happens of yourself. While I don't like to turn my own gaze outward, there is an energy, and I mentioned that you at times look around. There's energy that is faced towards you. And with this energy, this is just observation. We are human, we are connected. And so we don't isolate ourselves completely. We do look around and observe. And in the same way, there are observers of you. And as you take your place unapologetically and follow your unique path, there is doubt that is sort of being casted in your direction. I'd like to say this is a projection. I don't believe it's going to affect you, but I do believe there's a lesson to be learned in this, because I believe this is meant to add to your strength and to build you, to fortify you, and also to honor yourself for taking this path. Because what that is a sign of is how few people do it. And so it can create an uncomfortable feeling, a discomfort in others to watch you take your own route. There's a comfort in community in knowing that we are all aiming to do the same thing. And so when someone, just sort of out of nowhere redirects, and confidently, it brings up a discomfort which can manifest and appear like, it can feel like rejection. But I want to tell you that if you pick up on this energy, this is not actually a rejection. It's just, and I believe it will come back into balance, because again, when you take up your place, you give others an opportunity to take up theirs. And so I'm just noting it because it's come up here in the cards, and you might need that information should you ever try and look around to see whether you are aligned to anything around you. You're walking a unique path. You're embarking on a unique path. And the further you go down this path, it's going to diverge even more. Because I believe that what you're doing is still, in certain ways, similar to your surroundings. And so you are actually enjoying a certain comfort from that as well. And these changes happen gradually. It's not going to happen immediately where you're doing one thing today and then a completely different thing tomorrow. You're evolving. And so this is for you to push past that resistance should you pick up on it, and to give you a better understanding on where it comes from. Because as a collective, we're dealing with very similar energies, but we're also taking up space in our different ways. And so there is a lot of shared energy, but there's a lot of unique energy moving around right now. And so it will take some time for that differentiation to settle. As if the tough period that you just came through as well was to prepare you for this eventuality. It's almost like this part of your journey is inevitable, where you're going to be walking through the dark, where you're going to be guiding yourself, being guided by your own light, which is what's being asked for in this world. It's not that what's being asked for is your version of someone else's ideas. This is actually, a lot of that was inspiration, but now this is you. This is you, your unique offering, and your unique footprint. With that, I also want to say that you are not just an example of what it's like to be unique. You are an example of what it's like to be unapologetic about the pursuit of your own path. That in itself is a teacher to others. And so this feels like it's a sort of a reciprocal lesson here, because sometimes you are the observed and sometimes you are the observer. And so it's to recognize that reaction when it comes up. That as a leader or as a teacher, there are going to be people that are inspired and there are going to be people that are triggered. Both are important. The other is just, I suppose, a different route to inspiration. Being triggered is a form of inspiration. It's just that it needs to integrate and it needs to settle so that it can fulfill its purpose. I've asked why we're being showed this. And we're being showed this because inevitably, during these periods where I want to call it a waiting period, I want to address how you should rather approach the waiting period. But in these processes where there's a waiting period, that tends to be when we are observing the most, until we surrender. And they're saying that if you get stressed about, when you start having these thoughts, these comparative thoughts, just remember that this is part and parcel of the pursuit of the unique path. And in terms of how to actually really deal with this, actually really coming to clarity on this. The feeling of jealousy, if you see something and it sparks this threatening feeling of jealousy within you, we honor jealousy. Why? Because it's a sign of something we probably want to do. And so allow yourself to be inspired by that stuff. Don't allow yourself to ever turn back to yourself and think you are not enough. And so I very much do not feel you in this space right now. But the reason this is coming up is so that you can maintain your momentum, to keep focusing on that wisdom, that what you love is what's most important. And so if you pick up on something out there that you want, be inspired. Do not be threatened. This outlook is going to it's going to grant you the space to take things gradually, to build a consistency in your work and a resilience and the confidence to make changes without feeling like you're going to destabilize everything, but rather changes that are gradual improvements to your work. And I think what's coming through the most here for me is this consistency, this building of momentum, and not losing your momentum through the loss of focus on what these feelings of threat bring up in you, that it's inspiration. I'm also getting here that this consistent approach, you're going to be resting. You're going to be at rest emotionally as you reflect and look at where you come from. There's going to be a steady feeling. You're going to feel steady on your feet. You're not going to feel the insecurity that you used to feel as the fear of reverting to old tendencies and I suppose all these old insecurities. You're not going to have that. I see you in the next few months feeling more secure than you've felt in a very long time, feeling unburdened. I feel that a lot. Feeling unburdened and feeling like you still have the strength to figure it out as you go. And definitely this, I've mentioned unapologetic, but there's an unapologeticness around how much you deserve what you've built for yourself. There was a time you'd look to others to confirm this. And what it would do is that if something good happened to you, something positive, you didn't completely own it. And so I want to say here that together with your spirit team and your community and everyone who's supported you, you have led yourself to this place. You have led yourself to this place. And so all you need is to continue being true to that. I keep going back to asking why we're being told all of this. Because for me, this is a bunch of good news. And I'm being told that a major choice is coming up. And it's coming up soon. And it's going to send you back into your head. And they're saying in that moment where it sends you back into your head, you're going to need to remember the truth of what you know and stay in your power. They're going to need you to draw on everything you've learned along the way about what your priorities are and what's important to you. They're saying that in that moment when you're presented with this choice, whether it's a moment or a period of time, you're going to have to look within yourself to find that answer. I'm telling you that you're not going to find that answer out there. And this answer is very much aligned to what is your truth, what feels true to you with everything that you have learned along your journey that has brought you to this steadiness. What is your truth? On the path of attraction, things will be attracted towards you. This is due to your manifestation ability. This is due to all the work that you've put in. That said, the work is not done. And so you will inevitably be presented with things that aren't completely aligned with you. And these things are actually presented to refine your truth, to refine your idea about what it is you're building. This is sometimes the process because not everything can be figured out, again, in isolation and on your own. And so you're going to have a mix of things that you've asked for and things that you've asked for but that don't quite fit. Or two things you asked for at separate times and then they both present themselves at the same time. And actually, that's the sense I'm getting. I'm laughing a little bit because that's what's going to make this choice so hard. These choices, you manifested both of them. One was manifested at a time when you were disappointed. I'm not saying that it's not going to be good for you, but it was manifested during a time when you were dealing with a lot of change and you were feeling a lot of disappointment and unable to connect with the expanse of opportunities available to you. The other choice is almost like aligned with something from before you were born. The other choice is very much a part of your life's purpose. These two choices, they will present as things that you wanted. You've always wanted both. You've wanted both. I don't know how else to put that. That's what's going to make it so difficult. The first one feels like it came up from your experience. And so, again, it's important because remember, you made a wish. You put out a desire. You planted a seed. And the other one was not really active seeds planted, but like I said, it was almost birthed before you were born. And so it came into this life with you. And it's a result of everything you've learned that's presenting this opportunity. These opportunities that are coming up, we could be talking about any type of a manifestation here. This could be work, this could be a project, this could be a relationship, this could be a manifestation of a creative idea. There is a tough choice coming up. I just felt this like energy land in me. It's like clarity. The first choice is something that you developed and an idea that you developed after looking around and connecting with what you could possibly do. To adapt this slightly to fit into more than one context. This is something you decided you wanted through observing your experiences and workshopping what it is, designing what you want to do and what you want to be involved in. So that first choice is almost going to be like a perfect representation of that. Something you crafted. And when I say crafted, this literally could be a person, because you can sit and write a list about the person you want in your life. Okay? And this list is generally based on your experiences, things you learn about what works for you and what doesn't. And this similarly can apply in a work context, because you test things around and you workshop and you design. The other one, again, is what you came here to do. These things may, to an extent, resemble each other, but they are going to have attributes about them that are going to lead you down different paths. This is the choice. This is the choice, and both are going to require a leap of faith. But before you consider faith here, you're going to need to come back to yourself and scratch around yourself, look inside yourself, think about the things you've learned. Gosh, this is a tough one. Isn't it funny how things can be presented? How you can wait so long. How you can wait so long and work so hard on yourself, only to be presented with such a tough choice. And this is because we don't actually like to make choices. We don't like to make choices. You know, to be presented with something you absolutely do not like versus something you love, that's not a real choice. That's not a real choice, because then you fall back on habit and routine and you move steadily along. A choice is where you cannot take both. A choice is where you cannot have both. And sometimes perhaps you could have both. However, in not making a choice, something's going to get compromised, and it could be both. With the first option, they're telling me that this is something that you have a lot of passion for, and you're going to feel like things have really come together for you here. You're going to recognize it, and you may have even dreamed about it. 2, 2, 2, 2. The other choice is going to change things in a major way. It's going to ask you to move further into the darkness than you've ever traveled. It's going to shock you. And I feel like it will have a ripple effect on those around you, whatever that means in the context that you're applying this to. It feels more life-changing than the thing that you designed. It feels like it's going to ask you to step into your purpose more than this thing that you designed asks you to. The thing that you designed, because you designed it, you're going to find yourself ready to step into it. Because you dreamed about it for so long, you're going to feel like that's what's meant to be. But I want you to go back to your truth. And it's not even a but, because this could go either way. And for everyone, it's going to be different. But it's going to be a tough choice. And I think that's why I don't want to say but, because but suggests that one is better than the other, or whatever it is. But you manifested both. And in closing here, they're saying that you are not going to have sight of the changes either of these choices is going to bring into your life. You're not going to have sight of the future that these two choices, each of them, would bring. I don't even know how else to explain this. I was not going to display cards on the screen, but I'm going to have to display these so you can see what I'm looking at. I decided to flip through the deck and see which cards follow, and I couldn't stop unfolding. I have the Page of Pentacles, then the Page of Swords, then a King of Swords, a King of Cups, and a King of Pentacles, then a 9 of Pentacles and a 9 of Cups. And then I've got the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Wands, and between those I have the Fool. I don't know whether to call this a synchronicity or cards that look like they were organized before I touched them, but I've shuffled a lot. What these cards are telling me is that as you digest, unpack, and come to terms with what you're dealing with here in terms of your manifestation, as you're figuring it out, it's going to ask you to be really straight with yourself about your truth, which I've said a number of times here. This is also going to have to stay very much aligned with everything you've learned about the importance of self-love and self-prioritization as far as it relates to, we often think about how loving ourselves and choosing ourselves may affect others. And here I'm going to remind you about how the more you love yourself and prioritize yourself, the more you have to share. And so everyone is better off if you make that right choice of choosing yourself. This is just something to take into account as you decide on what your truth is. And then I've got the King of Pentacles, which becomes one that can also provide even more. So there's this sense of truth, love, and sustainability here. That's actually what you're after. It's not lost on me that the King of Wands is not here. It's the only king missing. And to me, that speaks to the reality that you're not going to have sight of what's to come. The King of Wands knows which moves to make next. Whereas here, you're going to be blinded to that. And you're going to have to be led by your truth. And this brings me to the 5 cards I've laid below. The 9 of Pentacles, the 9 of Cups, and then the 2 tens with the Fool between them. They're saying that this choice you're being presented with comes as a result of how much you've worked on yourself, how much you've built, how much value you've actually built within yourself. It speaks to your independence. By independence, I'm referring to you being presented with a choice which can only be made by an independent person. You have to be able to think for yourself here. Nobody else is going to make this decision for you. And it's through your independent nature that you've even been presented with this, because if you were not an independent thinker, you wouldn't be where you are. And if you were not an independent thinker, the choice would be easy. And they're saying that surrender is a gift for fools. That's how these words are coming to me. Surrender is a gift for fools. Lots of responsibility here over your own life. I don't mean this in a scary way. I mean this in a choice kind of way. And when I say a choice kind of way, I mean, for how long have we been exposed to and even experienced within ourselves the denial of how much authority we have over our own lives? And so to be presented with these 2 big choices it's going to feel like an ultimate decision of, I have to choose. And that's what's going to be so stressful. But I believe that the purpose of this reading was to remind you of what's most important, so that you can then begin the process of, first of all, being presented with these opportunities and to guide your thought process and to honor your heart. I pulled 2 oracle cards from the Moonology deck. The first one says, look at the bigger picture, full moon in Sagittarius, and the answers you need are coming, full moon in Gemini. And so this is confirming the zooming out from the stress of the choice and recognizing that the answers you need will be found by looking at the bigger picture of your truth before you execute on your decision. We're entering the full moon in Virgo this week. I believe it's on Thursday. And I was thinking about this as I chose which oracle cards to use. And both of these cards are also full moon cards. This period is very much, this choice, this era you're entering is very much going to be guided by this idea of looking after yourself. This idea of going back to what is a life that is going to look after you in all ways, what does that look like? As a close, I pulled a card from the Ask Your Guides, and what happened was that I just took the deck out and I literally split it. I hadn't even shuffled, and I got the word decisions, higher self. The book says confusion, quandary, ambivalence, juggling. You're faced with many choices and aren't sure what to do. Leave or stay in a job. Terminate or recommit to a relationship. Stop or continue a creative project. Go to work or stay at home with the kids. Life is an endless stream of choices, and doing what's best is never a simple thing. Fortunately, your higher self can help you resolve these conflicts, resolve these difficult decisions, especially if you're willing to let some of the balls you juggle drop to the wayside for now. The key to making the best choices is to simply follow your heart and attend only to what you care about right now. Focus on priorities that feed your spirit, and don't become overwhelmed by the demands and expectations of others. Ask your higher self to help you discern and trust in what requires your attention right now, and be willing to disappoint people. Your higher self assures you that what falls to the wayside isn't important in the long run, despite the drama of the moment. The message for you is, don't try to be all things to all people. It's a waste of time, and you'll surely fail. We're ending this off on 31/31. I wish you all the best with this decision. Sending you love. I recorded and extended to this reading. If this one resonated, in the extended, we dive into why a choice needs to be made at all and what it looks like. I've left more detail in the description box below with a link to the extended. If you don't have access to Patreon or encounter any other issues with it, please email me. Thank you.